Creamies!
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 Hey there guys, gals, and non-binary pals. My name is Allison.
And I'm Tori, and this is Library Lists.
Okay, so we are feeling very festive in our matching Christmas PJs here, and we are going to talk to you today about all of our reading goals for 2021.
Including both our individual goals, our joint goals, and our channel goals.
So there will be timestamps in the description. If you only care about a certain section of this video, feel free to skip to it. Let's get started and talk about our channel goals first.
Yeah. So the first goal that we have for our channel is to basically upload more regularly. We want to try to upload once a week.
Yeah, but we're still going to try to be pretty flexible on that. We are both grad students in STEM related fields, so we do a lot of like laboratory research work, so we work a lot of long days. Tori is still taking classes, and so that's also a lot, so we're gonna try to upload more consistently. I know in the past we've had gaps where we don't upload for a couple months and then we come back and upload a video and then it's like another 3 months before we upload something.
We're gonna try to be better about that.
Hopefully.
I think our firm goal is to try to do it once a week, but maybe our softer goal is once every 2 weeks.
We also want to try to do a variety of content on our channel. So I think as of recently, mostly we've just been posting like reading vlogs and kind of some tag videos, but we do want to branch out and maybe try to do some different types of videos, so hopefully you'll see some of those in 2021 as well.
I do really want to try to do more review type content because I really like those personally. I'd like to do some, at least a little bit more review type content.
Yeah, and we also want to try to figure out our system for doing book wrap-ups because we both read typically quite a few books during the month and it's not always the same books, and so we don't want to have it be like an hour-long video, so we're still trying to figure that out too.
Yeah, we haven't really done any wrap-ups because we're not sure how we want to approach them.
What the fuck is a wrap-up?
Next, we want to try to participate in more readathons. I personally get a lot of motivation from participating in readathons. I'm very goal-oriented, and if there's a time limit, I'm much more likely to actually read. So, readathons are usually very good for me.
We only did 2 readathons this last year. We did the Reading Rush, which was a shit show, and then we did Queer Blackathon, but we didn't vlog that.
Yeah, because that was right when I think that was the week before we started doing BookTube. We did Queer Blackathon, and then we did Reading Rush. Yeah. Both of which I did complete.
So we're aiming for a minimum of 3, since we only did 2 this year.
Yeah.
Setting the bar very low here.
Very low.
This next one is really stupid. That's okay, though. We just want to make more friends.
Yeah, we've made quite a few BookTube friends that we really enjoy interacting with, like on Twitter and on here. And we would love to either like stay really close, well, both stay really close with those friends and make some new friends too.
Yeah, that's the whole reason we started doing this, so
yeah,
to meet new people and talk about books.
Yeah. Next up, we want to try to participate in more like reading challenges and TBR games, not necessarily like readathons, but things that we come up with. Like we're thinking about maybe doing a TBR jar or something, some sort of.
Yeah, there are a lot of people that do these types of things. Like Maddie from Book Browsing does like the Dart Attack TBR.
Yes, that sounds so fun.
We gotta get a dartboard. Unrelated to BookTube, we just gotta get a dartboard.
I want a dartboard so bad. It's time to get good at darts.
We both struggle with being big mood readers though, so we kind of want to make more vague prompts that we can kind of use as we wish, if you will, and it's not just like you have to read this specific book this month.
Yeah. So. See, that was my problem before because I thought TBR jars had to be like individual books because that was what BookTube used to mostly do, where it was like you'd have a list of books to read and then you pick out a certain book to read, and I cannot do that. But like Maddie, for example, does like she has prompts and then fits those prompts which I think we could do more feasibly.
Yeah. And then the last channel goal that we have is just to participate in more book clubs.
Yes.
There are a lot of book clubs that we follow on Twitter and we always hype up because we're always very excited about them. And then we never read the book for the book club pick.
Because we're awful.
Or we'll buy it and then not read it till like 5 months later.
Yes, we're particularly bad about that one. Like, we'll read the book, just not at the time that they're reading it, and we can't participate in the live show because we haven't read it yet.
Exactly. So we want to try to get better about doing that. We don't really have any specific ones in mind, I don't think.
I don't know. I really want to get back into doing queer picture
book club
run
by Holly, Spoopy Hall on YouTube.
Yeah, because that one sounds so interesting, and we have 2 of the books
that neither of us have read.
Yeah, I'm about to read at it, actually. That's maybe my next read. But Thief. Dirty Thief.
I made the tea.
Dirty Thief. That one and Krusty Club and Phase and Gaze. There are just a lot of good ones, which I think maybe is why I didn't read any of them. But we'll work on that.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to kind of our joint goals for the year. So these are things not necessarily related to our BookTube channel, but they're more personal goals of ours, I guess, but they're the same for both of us. So the first one is to read more books off our TBR shelf because it's kind of gotten out of hand.
A little bit. It's a little out of hand. It's totally fine.
We have a whole bookshelf that is just for books that we haven't read, and our fantasy does not fit on that shelf because it is too full, and we have too many fantasy books. So we're going to try to read some books off of the ones that we already own so we can stop buying books.
Our goal is to get that down to a single bookcase.
Yeah. We'd like to move the fantasy, which is behind me that you can't see, back to that bookshelf because originally it did fit.
And then
we acquired way too many books.
Yeah. I like having a lot of books to choose from when I go to pick up a book. I do. I don't really want to get it down to like a shelf or anything.
No.
But I want it to fit on the bookcase that we have specifically for TBR books. That'd be ideal. So the second one is that we want to keep track of the books that we're bringing in and the books we're getting rid of. So we had kind of a one in, one out loose rule last year, but that didn't really work because we didn't count anything.
Yeah, we kind of just based it off of the number that we brought in that particular time. And, like, sometimes we did good when we traded our books into, like, our local bookstore. Sometimes we do really good, and, like, we'd bring in 8 but only come out with, like, 5.
Right.
But then other times we'd bring, like, 3 in and come out with 12. And we were like, oh, well, we didn't hit the limit, you know, the last time we came.
So it's fine.
Our last joint goal is one that we're both going to try really hard to work on, which is reading more physically throughout the year. I actually prefer to read my books physically as opposed to listening to them. I find I retain the information better and I usually have a better experience overall.
I really like listening to audiobooks. I really enjoy it and it helps me when I'm having trouble focusing on physical books. But I do want to try to read more physically because I do really enjoy reading physical books and I do tend to remember those books better. We want to try to read more like before going to bed. Maybe 30 minutes before bed or something we read together.
Yeah, and we are going to try to do more like 24 and 48 hour like readathon type things whenever we have some days off, or like right now around the holidays we have the next 2 weeks off from doing anything, so prime time for getting a bunch of books in. Okay, so it is time to talk about our individual reading goals for the year. So like how many books we want to read and what kinds of books we want to read and all that jazz.
Right. So I am going to keep my number the same as last year. My goal is 120 books, which I hit and surpassed this year. So I'm hoping to keep it the same. We'll see, because last year was kind of unprecedented. It was my best reading year, I think, ever. almost certainly ever. So I'm hoping to keep it around 120. I've got some other goals that might make that a little easier too.
My goal, I'm actually cutting back on this year. I am going to start low, and then if I can surpass it, great. But I would like to try to read 52 books this year, so that is about a book a week, which I think is pretty doable. I've always set my Goodreads goal to be about 100 books a year. It's always been a number that like I've been able to hit, but this year I am way behind, and I think that that's a combination of just everything I've had to do in terms of grad school this year, but also the state of the world. I do have a lot of big important things coming up in the spring and fall semesters related to my PhD, and I would like to be able to focus on those with all of my brain energy and not worry about a stupid Goodreads goal.
So next up, I want to keep up with the same goal that I had last year of reading 20 nonfiction. I want to read the same number of nonfiction this year. I think it really expanded my reading and kind of pushed me to read nonfiction books that I wouldn't have normally picked up. Because normally I pick up either like vaguely history or science, and I picked up a lot of nonfiction this year that I wouldn't have picked up otherwise, and I really enjoyed that, and I want to keep doing that, so I'm gonna keep it at 20.
Since I don't have as big of a reading goal overall, I'm only going to try to read one nonfiction a month. Typically, I tend to listen to nonfiction. I like nonfiction, but I get more out of that when I listen to it, as opposed to physically reading it, which I don't know if that makes any sense, but it is what it is. So I'm gonna try to read one nonfiction a month, so that would be a total of 12 for the year.
Next up is another genre type one. I want to try to read 10 poetry books. So I read a few poetry books last year, maybe 5 or 6, and I really enjoyed them, and I want to read more poetry, so I'm setting like an actual goal, and I want to read 10 this upcoming year.
I don't actually have a physical number for how many of these books I would like to read, but I am making it a goal this year for me to read more big books and more fantasy books, which fantasy is a genre I love, but I cannot listen to it. I've learned there have been a few fantasy books I've listened to, and it just whoosh. So I want to try to physically read more fantasy books and also bigger books, because I love big chunky books. I own quite a few of them, and I love them. I just don't prioritize them for the sake of reading more books through the year in order to hit that bigger Goodreads goal.
Next up, I want to try to read more new releases. So I actually didn't do terrible this year about reading new releases, but in general, I want to be better about reading new releases because I get really excited about new releases, and then I go pick a random audiobook that's probably a backlist book. Not to say I don't want to read backlist books. We have plenty of TBR books that are backlist books, but I want to read the books that I'm really super excited about, because I'll be super excited about them when they're coming out and then I never read them. So I want to fix that, and I want to actually read the books that I'm super excited about.
This one is similar to one of our joint goals, which is reading more off the TBR shelf, but I'm setting a numerical goal of one TBR book a month. So I have to pick a TBR book every month, and then if I read it, cool, but if I don't read it and I've decided that's the one I want to pick that month, I have to get rid of it. So that's how I'm going to try to hold myself accountable for reading books off the TBR shelf.
My last goal is to be better about writing down my thoughts as I read books, because I read the book, I get to the end, and the only thoughts I have are the thoughts at the very end of the book after I know everything, and I don't really have documentation of what I was thinking about while reading it, and I don't have notes, so trying to like write a review or talk about it with someone else is a little difficult because I just have my final impression of the book. So I want to be better about actually writing down thoughts, maybe getting a notebook shopping. I have a giant creative notebook, so I should just pick a notebook.
My last one actually is related to our end of the year book tag, and that is to stop picking up books and then enjoying them and just stopping. I've been notoriously bad about this the whole time I have been a reader, which is basically my whole life. I've always been very bad about doing this. I'll start a series and I'll read the first book and I'll love it, and then never read the rest of them. Like, for example, I read Graceling this year. I really liked this book, but I read this book back in like February. I own the next two. Have not thought about picking them up. Why do I do this? My goal this year is to try my best to either see a series completely through or go back and reread the first one so I can read the continuation, so that way I can clear the rest of these series off of the TBR shelf, because there are so many series I start and just never finish. All right, that is everything that we have then. Let us know if you've done a 2021 goals video or if you've made a blog post or anything about it. Link it down below. We'd love to go check some of your goals out for 2021. Hopefully this year will not be as big of a dumpster fire, but I don't have high hopes.
It's fine. It can't get much worse, right?
All right, we will see you guys in another video very, very soon. Bye!